I am your host today, Taylor, and I am joined by our good little friend here, Vasily. Say hello.
Hello there.
And today we have a special little guest with us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, Gravesy here. Good to see you all. Kinda.
Kind of. Nice.
Well, I just thought
nice.
with the whole see you all thing, don't quite work, does it? But that's what we're going with.
You can imagine what they look like, alright?
Hello.
Oh, and we
yeah.
have our other little gentleman here.
Hey, I just came back from dinner, sorry.
It's fine. We won't ridicule you for being completely late then. So, for those of you who don't know, that is the late voice of Mr. One and Only Iceman.
Good evening. I see Grassy on in the back.
Indeed. Hello.
I warned you we'd have a special guest. Right, let's start with some little introductions, like who you are, what games you play, that sort of type of shit. Let's go with Vas. Go for it.
Hello, I'm Vasily Yarmchenko. I play Squad, Warthunder, Company Heroes, a few other games as well, but not anywhere near as much as those three.
What are you trying to say? You trying to say we're sad?
Well, no, I just play a lot of games. Like 2,000 in War Thunder. 2,000 hours, that is.
Yeah, okay, maybe you need a life, not us.
Yeah.
Iceman, what are you playing recently?
Recently I have been playing Star Citizen 3.0, but a lot of Squad as well. Glad V10 dropped. I play Publicity casually, sometimes Insurgency, sometimes other games. Played some racing games recently. So, when I don't have anyone to play with, it's all over the place, and otherwise it's one of the three.
And Gravity, what about you?
Just before I do, did you just say V10 dropped for Squad?
You did?
Yeah, kind of alpha, like test V10.
It's a
Okay.
playtest. It's not
Yeah,
actually V.
Yeah, you have to download it separately and do this other boring ass shit which nobody can be asked to with.
All right. Okay. Gravesy. I attend PUBG's live, obviously. Rocket League, mainly, and yeah, just random other games really, mainly first-person shooters. But I bought Battlefield Bad Company 2 the other day, and yeah, I keep jumping back into that for the nostalgia. And yeah, I've got like 4 or 5 hours playtime when normally I play like 4 or 5 hours maybe in a week. It depends.
Yeah, fair dues. Right, so one thing that I definitely want to ask is to you, Mr. Iceman. Good old Star Citizen. Because obviously, as you said earlier, 3.0 dropped. I'm definitely one of the people who are sort of in the background of that game, just sort of looking at it, wondering, do I get involved, do I not? So let's give us your esteemed critic's opinion of 3.0 so far.
As it is now, and what it will stay for quite a bit of time still, is a test phase and a game that's being built. So you will have bugs, you will have poor performance. So if you're expecting a full game and hours of fun without crashes with your friends, I'd say hold back until 2019 or the end of 2018 or something. And if you're interested to get involved and to go sightseeing, and then you don't mind a crash so now and then, I'd say jump in it because it's beautiful beyond that.
Fair dues. What sort of things do you get to do in it, really?
Right now, it's really just stress testing servers. It's a bit of small lore missions and a bit of exploring, landing on planets, which is new, which is cool. Partly procedurally generated, which is nice. And the seamless transition from space to land is really good. They quite nailed it.
Nice. Vas, let's go for you this time then. Let's interrogate you a little bit. Pressure's on now, mate. So recently, you've had a little bit of promotion in TLR, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've become section leader for Warthunder.
Yeah, how's that little bit going for you?
It's going fairly well. We've got a few guys playing it now. Well, I think it's like 15 or so. So, there's interest, which is good. It's a good game, so, yeah, the more the merrier.
So obviously, War Thunder's sort of like, you get to do bits of everything really, don't you? Like tanks, planes, and all sorts.
Yeah, so there's tank battles, there's aircraft battles, there's battles with the two of them in, which are always interesting. And soon there's going to be naval battles as well. So destroyers and patrol boats and torpedo boats all having a massive fight. So I think it's got a good future ahead of it.
Ooh, can you go submarines?
Not yet. I'm not sure if they're confirmed or not.
Oh, gay.
Is the game grindy in any way? I don't know. I've been wanting to play it, and I have it downloaded, and I watched Greytrix's streams of it. It looks really good. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, am I going to have to grind for everything? Or is it, because it's free, so I automatically assume it's going to be grind and then shortcuts to get better stuff by paying.
Yeah, there's certainly a grind to it, but at the earlier levels, the grind isn't too bad. In the end, you just kind of end up with a vehicle that you like, and then you just play a lot of that. I've grinded, I've 2,000 hours, so I've grinded a lot of stuff. So in the end, for me, it's just kind of, even a week's grind is nothing, because I've done it for 4 years now.
Does it not get sort of like repetitive at all in any way? Because obviously there's limited vehicles, and I'm assuming there's limited maps as well.
Well, there's, I think, over 100 vehicles in, 4 nations.
Shit, really? That many?
Yeah, and that's just ground vehicles, I think. Well, maybe not ground vehicles, but there's hundreds of vehicles for each nation, and there's more nations being added as well. France and Italy recently got added, but they're still fairly small nations. But there's heavy fighters, light fighters, bombers. On the tank front, there's light, medium, heavy, tank destroyers. A whole bunch of really cool options to make sure that it doesn't really get that boring.
I did not know that it was that.
Just to hop in there, just a kind of rhetorical question. Couldn't you say that about every game?
Well, yeah, but obviously some games, because they're like either they're so large or like PUBG, for example. Yeah, you've only got a couple of maps, but no matter what happens, you're never gonna have 2 games at the same because the map is so huge. There's all the different types of weapons. Everyone has like different play styles and everything. You're never going to get 2 games at the same because you're always just going to run into people with different skills. So one round you'll be able to like go around butcher 12 people with like fucking M24 or something, and then next round you're just going to get one tap pistol in the head. So it's like, yes, there are some games where it will get boring and repetitive because there's literally just no content to them. But I mean, as I said, like over 100 vehicles for just one faction. You're never going to get bored of action. You can just go experiment with another vehicle. I mean, just look at Squad. Look how sad we all are with that. How many hours have we played on that?
Probably too many.
I think everybody can say they've put too many hours into that game. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I just remember so much when I was upgrading my PC. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get a CPU upgrade. I can't wait to do this. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be great to play Squad. And then I upgraded and I didn't play Squad. I left RIP, didn't see a point. TLR was formed and PUBG was life from then on.
Yes, we know you're a little PUBG fanboy over there.
Oh yeah. High praises for it. However, I've not played the 1.0 patch.
You've not played it yet?
No. Not got any boys to go with, and it's just so much hassle. Like, just messaging everyone like, hey, do you want to play? No. Okay, find someone else. I'm just like, I'll just play Battlefield.
My first game of the 1.0 did not go very well. I had to restart my PUBG 3 times because it got stuck on the loading screen. So that was fun. And then I found out I died to full damage. So it's like, no, great.
Yeah, I was at work when I wasn't even aware that the patch was dropping, and I was at work and I was looking at Twitter, working hard, and
oh yeah, totally.
I just saw like, oh yeah, we're out of early access, and then just throughout the day, I just saw more tweets saying like, "We're sorry, European players. There's like major issues. We're fixing them. Oh, it's gonna take longer. Oh, it's gonna take. We're still aware of the problems." Just throughout the day, I was like, "I'm so glad." Like, because with most, if I really look forward to a game, I normally take the day off so that way I can play it. And I learned the hard way that that was a bad idea when the Master Chief Collection came out for Halo. And basically, I took the whole day off. I was going to play it and get it at midnight, all that. Got it, put it in. It took ages to install. Then it had a huge patch. Okay, that's fine. And then there was a huge problem with the fact that it took half an hour to find a game. When you did, either the teams would somehow, even though it's a 6v6, you'd be in a 15-person lobby, 3 of you on one team, 9 on the other, or something like that. And it was like a month until they got that fixed. It was a huge disaster, and I've never been angrier during the day. Like, just sat there like I've taken time off for this, and it is garbage. So it's iffy on if I play day one releases anymore.
I think you touched on quite a sort of big issue there. Really, it's like this is going to be like an open question to all of you here. So feel free to just butt in at any time. Do you think that a lot of companies these days are rushing that initial release, like to get them out of early access, to get them as a proper mainstream game? I mean, look at Battlefront. Stars Battlefront 2, they come out and just get fucking torn a new arsehole with their pay-to-win system, basically. PUBG comes out, obviously they've just had a fucking absolute spam of apologies for this break-in, that break-in. Don't know if many of you are aware of it, but Life is Feudal, the amount of fucking bugs and issues that have come out from that. So do you think that companies should be pushing their games out, or should they take longer to fix these issues, to get more research done, make sure everyone is happy with the product, and then release it?
Well, it's a bit tricky because obviously Squad has been in early access for so long. People are getting impatient because it's been in so long, even though they're doing all the work. So it's people can wait too long, and people can kind of rush it out. So they're both issues that companies are facing, I think. And
on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got DayZ, which I think has been in early access for about 4 years now, and there's barely any movement on it. The companies realised they've got all the players they were going to get, they've got all the money. What's the point in sinking more into it just to go out of early access? Which I think is a pretty challenging problem for the industry.
Well, Squad win. I mean, I think Squad's a little bit different because obviously there is a lot of new content which they've got planned, and there are, although it's like bloody 1 year between major updates, they are still creating all this content and then releasing it, whereas a lot of the more recent PUBG updates, they've sort of been more fine tweaking little bits here and there, like add an extra one gun here or something like that. It's like there's not really been any sort of big major update until Vaulting comes in and the new map. It's like, do they need to wait that long to bring it out?
I think definitely the Vaulting was needed before they could officially say here's 1.0. I mean, it wouldn't have been a major big deal, I don't think, if they'd come out and said, here it is, we've only got one map, but here it is. But Vaulting adds such a different level of gameplay to the game that I've said before that I can't go back. Like, when I was on the test servers, if somebody suggested, let's play the normal game, I felt like I'd lost an arm if I couldn't vault over things. So, I don't know. I think ideally you want them to have a steady stream of updates, and Steam should, ideally you'd want Steam to have some sort of system where they hold any earnings in some way that the company gets enough money from the pre-sales for the development costs and stuff like that, and maybe have to provide some sort of expense report or something. as a way of being in the early access list. And then afterwards, once they have a 1.0 out that has like they can look at reviews and things like that. Maybe I'm no chief marketing officer of Valve here, but yeah, something like that to encourage the game to be worked on and to ensure games don't stay in early access. However, they don't then immediately come out of early access, just so that way the developer can get that cash grab.
Yeah, and what I think is that a lot of people underestimate making a game and the bugs that are involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see obviously where they come from, and in terms of like, I know for a fact I've never been quiet about, oh my god, it takes so long for Squad to come out with something. And on the one side, yeah, there's okay, this is taking a while. Then on the other side, people forget just how much work goes into making a game. Yeah, you're not making the engine of the game, but it's still a lot of work. Everything's mainly got to be created from scratch. These models don't get made out of nowhere. The animations don't. You can buy packs and stuff for certain engines to do that, but if you're making an early access title, your chances are you're not going to have most of that. So yeah, I definitely think a lot of people they don't understand why things take so long. But I think that would be in the hands of the developer as a community standpoint to say, okay, here's what we've been working on, here's how long it took, and maybe here's some footage of us making it just to tide you guys along.
So obviously, Iceman, I'll get you to weigh in here, because obviously you're quite involved with the testing stuff for Star Citizen. And obviously that game's been in development for many, many years now. But they are a relatively small company, to say, in the fact that not a lot of people really know who they are. So,
they were, yeah.
Yes.
It's really the fact that when they started in 2012, they started with 12 people with an idea. And from there, they had to design the game. They didn't even have an engine yet. So let alone an idea how they make the game. And then they chose the CryEngine, of course, which wasn't in any way capable of handling a universe built within it. And back in 2013, when CryEngine was on the edge of going broke, and they bought the rights, etc., to cover their ass, and then they finally stepped over to the Amazon Lumberyard engine. It is, which kindly has the core of the CryEngine, but has a lot of things built around it, which is developed hand in hand with the development of Star Citizen. And so from like the 2.6 update to 3.0 now, they literally had to rebuild the game, and which a lot of people forget, I think.
So do you think that, obviously, like Gravity said, with Steam maybe implementing some sort of withholding of the money from the pre-sales and stuff, so that they've only got enough to continue the development stuff and not just quickly release it, grab all the money, and just never fucking update again? So with Star Citizen, obviously they've had this sort of hoo-ha going on recently, this law shit going on with the people who made CryEngine and everything. So obviously that was going to cost them a lot of money. So do you think something like holding back money as an incentive for people to develop games could work?
It might to some extent, but it might also kill the development, because you literally cannot set an estimation date or a price tag on a game. You always find out along the way. And if a game takes a half year longer to develop than you thought, you need a half year longer of funds. Where are you going to get that from?
Counter argument, Gravsy?
And when do you consider a game finished? Are you going to have a straw poll or whatever with other devs?
Well, yeah, that's another good point there. I mean, It's kind of difficult, really, isn't it, to find this balance between getting a game developed, but doing it so it's not shit quality as such. Because a lot of games bring out all these patches, and then 2 weeks later, there's another patch to fix that patch that they first released.
I can definitely weigh in here. So, a good thing about developing for consoles is everyone's got the same architecture. Everyone's got the same hardware. If it works on this Xbox, it works on that Xbox. If it works on this PlayStation, it works on that PlayStation. And there's a bit of difference between consoles, but not too much. However, with PC, and I have experience in this, that pretty much everyone's system's different. Either a different operating system or different patch version, different DirectX versions and hardware, etc. And in a project of one of mine, we had what we saw as a ready-to-go version. It worked flawlessly on our rigs. It was great. It was tested on a couple of languages, not many, because there was not many of us that we could test with. But yeah, anybody we tested with in about a size pool of 15 people, it worked okay. We then released this and found that, for a good half of it, half of our players, they had major issues that we had not seen in about 4 months worth of testing. And that's what you see when, say, for example, PUBG puts out a patch to fix some sort of broken part of the game, and then it makes another part of the game broken, or even worse, or something like that. It's just things that you don't see on your own test systems that, with the various changes, you can't catch them all.
Well, to counter that, but with small companies and small game developers, yeah, sure, okay, you can understand that. But PUBG's like the fucking one of the biggest games currently going. They've got so much resource behind them. They should surely be able to test stuff for at least 90% of people's builds, rigs, operating systems, what have it. It should only be a very small portion that it actually affects. So
That's why I want to jump in. That's why they have the public test server.
Yeah.
That's where they get their information from. That's why that's how they get thousands and thousands of.
And on top of that, I know that you're trying to speak there, but on top of that, there's also the bad experiences are very vocal. For example, I work in IT. The amount of times I heard, "Oh my god, this system's terrible. Oh my god, something's bad." Blah blah blah. Nobody rings up to say, "Oh my god, it's working amazingly." Nobody goes on Twitter, or very few, and be very vocal about it to say, "Oh, I played a game of PUBG and it was absolutely flawless. There was nothing wrong." However, the moment you get a bullshit kill, or death, sorry, or your game crashes once, or something like that, that's it. Immediately, people are a lot more vocal about that. Nobody tweets the bus company to say, "Yeah, your bus was on time today." It's, "Where's my bus? My bus isn't on time." Like, "Oh my god, the bus broke down and I'm stuck." I think you see a very vocal majority of bad experiences, not too much of the other, and it causes a bit of bias. With the amount of players PUBG gets, for example, if a few thousand are having an issue, that's still not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Now, obviously, you get the major issues like servers out or can't log in or something like that.
Stuck on a loading screen.
Yeah, exactly, which affect loads. And that's the ones that they tweet about and say, "Yes, we're aware of these." And the negative reinforcement you get as well, because it's not just one person reporting the problem, it's thousands, all reporting the same one in different ways or in not very easy to understand methods. And it can be hard, and I think a lot of their stuff, they do test quite well. Like, a few issues on the new map, but it was mostly okay. And yeah, when you're going out to that size of player base, I think you are going to see the problems come quick as well. It's not a case of you've got like 200 people who in a week find a bug. It's somebody's probably found it almost instantly because you've got I don't know how many concurrent players, 300,000 or something.
Honestly, yes, I get what you're saying. Like everyone just immediately jumps on the bad shit, and just because people just like to complain and shit. But then, do you not think it should be up to people such as the big streamers like Shroud, Doctor Disrespect, people like that who are constantly on these games? Should it be an element of them promoting the game? Be like, yeah, it's working well. There's no issues with it currently. Do you think maybe streamers and people like that should start doing something like that?
Just playing the game kind of shows that, really, if your game is doing well, if it is playing well. And most their audience is there to watch them kick ass at the game or be entertaining. And let's face it, if you're singing praises about the game every day, most people aren't interested.
Vash, you got any comments on that?
Well, it's just the way that people are. It's a lot easier to complain than to compliment someone. And it's a lot easier just to say, "Oh, that's an issue," rather than to think of a solution. So I think most people, even if they like a game, they will still complain about it. Like, so many people love Squad. Like, I'm one of them, but it's got so many bugs and stuff. We're still going to complain, but we're wanting the game to be better with that complaint. So it's tough, especially for developers, because people see complaining as bad press. But I think the complaints are good and needed most of the time, because a lot of the time it kicks the developer up the bum, which is needed in some cases.
I suppose I can agree with that, but also you do get, with the internet these days and just people in general, you get so many people these days who just literally just want to troll for the hell of it and just want to flame everything. It's like, how's actually supposed to differentiate between the people who are criticising to want to help the game develop and the people who are just being trolly little dicks who need to be shot? It's like trying to find the difference between those sort of people, especially for developers, it must be an absolute fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I think there's also there's people who know a lot about how games work and stuff, and then there's people who don't really know how to use a computer but still want to play games on it. And
Yourself. Sorry, what did I say, Evan?
that was very mean, but okay. And then you got various problems of, I, for example, deal with reports every day of, "Oh my god, bro, this don't work." And then that's not how it's supposed to work, like you're doing it wrong. Or, oh my god, I get this error message, what does it mean? It's like, it tells you what it means. And so I imagine with a lot of the reports they get as well, some of them are just not valid in any way, and you've got to still sort through that. And it's wasted money in a way. At the end of the day, they've got shareholders to keep happy and stuff like that, which... Yeah, you've got to sink some cost into QA, but again, it is very much seen as a wasted resource, which, for good or bad, that's mostly how the game industry sees it. Necessary, but wasted.
So I think Vash, you say you've been playing Warthunder for years now and everything. It's like,
Yeah, probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Does that have a lot of bugs in it to this day after having been developed for so long?
It doesn't actually have that many bugs at all. I mean, it was full release, I think, 2014, so it's been out properly for a few years now. And there's a joke because every time they do a patch, they say client stability improved, but I've not had it crash for about 6 months now, and that's playing a few hours a day, and like 5 hours a day every day. There's so few bugs, and the bugs that there are pretty small, really. Like, you'll have very occasionally a flight model mess up, but that'll be 1 in 500 games. So I mean, but the budget for Gadget and Warthunder is a lot different for budget for a lot of these new games, so they can focus more on getting the bugs done, getting everything done, rather than making sure that there's that new update for the next players to keep them interested. Because that's something that people care a lot about, is the fact that they can't see any progress on the game, so they won't pay much interest into it. Like how V9 for Squad it just gets less and less people. But as soon as that next update comes, it's going to be big. So should they rush that update, or should they focus on those bugs? It's a tricky thing for them, I think. But
then you can come back to PUBG, the amount of resources they've got behind them. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot more than what Warthunder has behind it, considering how stupidly popular and large PUBG is at the moment. It's just like, how can one company with less resources manage to get their bugs sorted? I'm assuming what's been very, very quite early in the development of it, where you get this game with so many resources, so many players, so much popularity behind it and everything, with just all these what are essentially for a lot of people game-breaking bugs. It's like, how is there just such this large disparity?
What you also got to remember
I
is
think the developers being pushed more to release it. If you've got 500,000 people pulling your code to release your game or the patch, then you're more inclined to release it earlier. And I think Warthunder, because it was less popular, less known, it had less people nagging like, please release. So they took a little more time to iron out some bugs before releasing it.
and as well as when you've got a bigger development team, you've now got to have all that team working on the same code at the same time. What one developer in China might push to the latest code base might break another developer's code in Canada, and that can't really be known too well in advance. Whereas if you've got a smaller dev team, it can take longer to do larger things. However, stability is normally more intact.
So would it be better then to obviously keep the team small and take a little bit longer and get things polished completely with less bugs, or obviously get a larger team but get more content out quicker but with obviously more bugs? So as gamers, which would you three prefer? Quicker with more bugs or slower with less bugs?
Depends on the bugs. I can handle maybe a bullshit death every 100 games, or some sort of vehicle hits me and I fly across the map every so often, if it meant the new map came, for example, rather than waiting an extra 2 months just to iron out these little bugs. But then, for example, when Squad V10 drops, I'd be pretty mad if at this point that almost anything but perfect.
Iceman?
Yeah, I agree with that. But to me, I'm almost in any case more of a take your time to develop properly. And, and I still think public testing is important. So if they do that, I am completely behind it. Which also gives the publicity, but they do have a really good excuse that it's testing,
I agree with Iceman there. Just take your time, make sure that all the bugs are gone, because nothing's worse than a game coming out and having 1,000,001 bugs, because that's just going to kill your player base. Everyone's going to hate it. It's like Rainbow Six. Every update brings new bugs, and every time they get less and less players, and it's just not pleasurable. So for me, I like to wait, but I understand that others like to just kind of go on to the next stage, get the new thing.
I suppose there is kind of a fine balance, because if you do just constantly roll out all the content, you can then just do one big patch which fixes like the past 6 updates worth of bugs. Whereas if you do it slower, you'll have one update and you'd have to wait with those bugs for 6 months before bring out another update, like quite happens with Squad quite a lot of the time.
Well, Rainbow Six is kind of an example of that. They do, every, I think it's 6 weeks or something, they do an update. And then they had to do, in the second year, they had to do Operation Health, which is meant to fix bugs. And while it fixed, I think it was 1,200 bugs, there were still so many more still in the game. And so I think if done right, forcing updates out and then fixing them afterwards works. but if done wrong, it's just not pleasurable for anyone.
I think I can definitely agree with that.
Same, yeah.
Because I think the V10's had a few little iffy bits in it, hasn't it? From what I've heard so far, it's had a few little hiccups.
Yeah, a lot. I've seen really janky animations. I have moments where I just, for some reason, in some areas couldn't look left and right, and I could only walk forwards and backwards or such things. Vaulting just glitching you out, that stuff. I do like how it slowed down the game, the animations, but they look weird at point. And you need to, iron that out. But they've been, if I look at their Facebook post, the first and the top comments, and 90% of the comments would be, where's V10, bring V10, this and that. So they were like, well, fuck me, you've got to give it to them. And, it's a make or break thing, really.
Yeah, I know people have been wanting V10 for like bloody 6 months or whatever now. But I've got one question though.
One thing to add to it, it's also a bit of developer side, because if a developer doesn't hype a certain update, they won't get that much attention to it. Like if Squadron would have only announced V10 3 months ago, they would have like 3 months less of annoyance.
Yeah, I think publicity is definitely a very, very key integral part of gaming these days. I mean, obviously, if you go back like, I don't know, 5-10 years, a lot of games just didn't really have very much publicity, or if they did, a lot of it was like TV based. But obviously nowadays, you got your Twitter, Facebook, and to say for Steam is a great way to promote the games these days. So I think it's just finding the balance between making people aware of it and not just absolutely spamming it down their throat, so by the time it actually comes out, they're just like, I just don't give a shit about it anymore. You've just hyped it up so much that I'm just not going to enjoy it as much as I want to.
Yeah, it's a balance between that hype and actual content, because the squad's done it fairly well, but obviously everyone knows that the stuff that's in V10 has to be in there, otherwise everyone's going to riot. So they kind of hyped it all up, so they have to do it in one big update. So if they hadn't done that, would they have been able to do updates more quickly? But would they've got less publicity? It's a tricky line.
I think the squad's always going to have publicity, because obviously you do have the CCFN, the ISKT, and you do have some people who are quite dedicated to streaming it, playing the game and everything. But I think the squad's main problem is it is a very small community. There's only about a couple of thousand people who play it daily, weekly, whatever it is. It's not an overly large popular game, which I think does affect quite a lot of people these days, because obviously with so many games out there, trying to get noticed these days and become a big sort of AAA title, unless you're made by these big developers like EA and etc., trying to get big is extremely difficult. Unless you're PUBG, where you just come from nowhere and then just suddenly blow up the whole world with your popularity.
Yeah, PUBG got lucky in that aspect. It's not hard. I think if you do have a quality game and maybe a bit of budget for marketing, you can do fairly well as an indie early access kind of game. I think Minecraft is a good example of that. Went from one guy just playing around with Java to, Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft's just the enigma that nobody's ever going to understand.
Yeah, and I think you'll be okay there, but you just got to make sure you don't. Yeah, too much hype is a serious problem, because then you just underwhelm your audience. It's the same reason why Half-Life 3 will never be made. What's the point? It's so hyped that they could make the perfect game, and it would still be shat all over. No, like, people would love it, but they would still complain. Like, there's no way that they would release that now, 'cause it's just going to hurt stock. And at the end of the day, that's mostly what big gaming companies care about.
Anyone got any other comments for that?
No,
Nah.
not really. I agree with that.
Well, I think after we've just sat bitching about games for like 40 minutes, I think that will be a good place for us to stop this week, gentlemen. So, thank
Gentlemen, God, you got me wrong.
you. Gentlemen and a little bitch named Vass. That better?
Much better, much better.
Well, thank you very much for joining me this week, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, we will be back again next week, probably around 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for watching.